What's going on, everybody? My name is Chris and welcome to my music corner. Today I'm going to be going over 15 tips and tricks that will help you as a guitar player. These are tips and tricks that I've learned throughout the years of playing. So without further ado, let's get started. My first tip is geared especially toward the beginners and even advanced players. Tune before practicing or playing. Now I know that we sometimes just like to pick up our guitar and play, especially when we're at home or we just tune. But I recommend always tuning before practicing or playing for a couple reasons. One, you'll get used to what the guitar sounds like in tune, and if you have like maybe even it's slightly semitone off, it will throw your pitch off. One, it'll make the guitar sound not fully in tune, but two, it will train your ears to hear something that it shouldn't, and you'll get used to it. The second reason is if you're in tune, it sounds better to you and you're more apt to play and practice more. Tip number 2 is always have a spare pick. I know that we as guitar players have never lost a pick in our lives, but on those occasions that we do, it is frustrating when you only have one pick. When you're playing live especially, it can be very frustrating because you're getting to the music and all of a sudden the abyss opens up and your guitar pick is no more. And you're thinking, oh man, I wish I had a guitar pick. This is why I recommend having a spare pick. They're not expensive at all. Even the higher end picks are like $5 to $10 a piece, and that is expensive, but not really. Always have spare picks because then you don't have to worry. If something happens, you can just pick one up and then you can continue playing. Tip number 3 is to take your time when stringing and restringing your guitar. The worst thing you can do when stringing your guitar is to rush it and either break a string or make it to where it's not intonated properly, or even where the spirals aren't aligned correctly, where it's like jumping all over the place. The way I tune my guitar and string my guitar is I like having the spirals go from the bottom all the way up to the top and have it nice and neat. Typically 3 or so. If I have my locking tuners, obviously that's going to be different. You can help alleviate the time by having a power winder, or you can have, like I said, the locking tuners. They work instantly and they work great. But take your time with stringing your guitar because it's better to take your time and to have a finished product that's perfect as opposed to something that's sloppy and that's not stable or staying in tune. Step number 4 goes along with step number 3, and that is adding pencil lead to the nut. I think you should add pencil lead in your nut whenever you're about to string the guitar because it allows the string to move freely and a little more fluid, so it's not stiff and rigid, so you can have better tuning stability, but also you can have better control. It's not a lot. Just take like a mechanical pencil and just rub it in between the slots and it will help you a lot. I do that with my Gibson Les Paul and I never have tuning issues with it. And in stock tuners, nothing, I didn't do anything to it. I just do that and I have no problems. Tip number 5 is to practice clean with no effects. Now, as you guys may know, I love rock. I love metal. I love playing the overdrive and distorted tones, but sometimes that masks up your mistakes. Playing clean, it shows everything. It's brutal. It's honest. What you see is what you get. So if you're playing clean, it will say, hey, your sweep picking pattern doesn't really sound that great, or this riff that even if it's supposed to be a heavy metal riff, it doesn't sound right. You need to be working on that because you want to have clarity in your playing. So practice with a clean amp. Tip number 6 is to learn how to pick with your fingers. Now this is also called fingerstyle picking, but you want to be able to learn how to play with your fingers for a couple of reasons. One, if we lose our pick, we can at least pick with our fingers and continue on. It'll be different. 2, it adds a different dynamic to your guitar playing and you can do a lot more with finger picking and with the pick. And it just sounds a little nicer. And there are some pieces that are better with finger picking. Tip number 7 is to learn songs slow down, then sped up. What we as guitar players like to do is we like to learn a song as it's played. We want to learn it fast. That's just how our society is. We just want to learn it fast and right away. Don't do this. I tell my guitar students all the time, don't try playing the song up to beat. Just try getting the notes correct. Because if you're playing the song up to beat and you're playing wrong notes, it's actually going to teach your fingers to play the wrong notes, even if you are purposely trying to play the correct notes. So just practice the song, slow down the BPMs, and if it's like 100 beats per minute, try 60. And just make sure that you get that rhythm, because the rhythm is the most important thing in guitar playing. Absolutely the most important thing, it's rhythm. And if you don't have rhythm, then, well, it doesn't really matter what you do. It doesn't sound good. But just practice slow, just get it going to where you can't mess up, and then up it up. So go from 60, 70, 90 to 100, and then even faster. If you go faster and you can play it perfect going speed, you can play it perfectly, no problem going at the regular beats per minute. Step number 8 is something that I've recently got into, probably in the last 3 or 4 years of my guitar playing, is to listen to other genres of music. Now, for the longest time when I was in high school first learning the guitar, I listened to a lot of classic rock stuff. Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, Aerosmith, Foghat, 38 Special, all that. I listened to all of them, and they're great. I love them. I still listen to them. But in the recent years, I've gotten more into the progressive stuff, like the progressive metal or the alternate rock, or even some electronic dance music I've listened to. I have a friend who put out an album, and I listened to it, and it's nice to get different genres in there, because you can be so fixated on one genre that that's all you learn. Whereas if you're playing heavy metal but you listen to neoclassical, or you're listening to jazz something, it adds more variety into your guitar playing, and you can add that into the genre. And a lot of times it gets you out of ruts. If you can't think of anything to do, just listen to something. Sometimes I listen to pop songs because they actually have good melodies and good guitar work. And so that was what I would recommend, just listen to different genres. Tip number 9 is you do not need the most expensive gear. I play 2014 Gibson LPJ, and you guys seen it on my channel. It's my main guitar. It's my number one. I paid $875 for it. It's about a $1,200 guitar. It plays and sounds like a $2,000 guitar, and as long as it sounds good and you like it, you don't really need expensive gear. Now, having expensive gear is really nice, but you don't necessarily have to have it. It's something, I guess, more like a treat for you. Hey, I've learned this and I've been playing for so long, I'm going to reward myself with this. There's nothing, like I said, there's nothing wrong with having expensive gear. I know guys who have $12 to $13, $14, $15,000 guitars, and they have a few of them. There's nothing wrong with it, but you don't always need the most expensive gear. Just work on eventually upgrading your gear and you'll be fine. Tip number 10 is hard cases are generally more effective and better for storage and transportation than soft cases. Now, I know a lot of YouTubers who have soft cases and they really like them. Some actually do make some really good ones. My Gibson Les Paul came with a soft case because it was a lower end model. The next day I brought it in and got a hard case because I'm thinking, if I'm spending $900, I'm getting a hard case. If something happens, especially if you're traveling with a band or even flying and you have a soft case, something could happen. A little story is, when I was in my youth group playing in the youth band, there was a kid who had an Epiphone SG. It was really nice. It was in a soft case because it was an Epiphone. He accidentally hit the headstock, and the G string, ironically, would not stay ever in tune. Like, even when he tunes it, it wouldn't stay in tune because he knocked the guitar on a wall. So that's why I always say, just spend the extra money on a hard case. I understand that with soft cases are a little better because they can have more storage. But personally, I just put everything in my pedal bag anyways, so I just recommend hard cases if possible. Step number 11, you're not always going to get it right away. Most of the frustration I get from either my students or even myself or other guitar players or musicians in general is they don't get it right away. It takes time, and that's something that we always forget, because we as musicians are an interesting creature. We just think, oh, I have to get it, and we can't make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. We just need to make sure that, hey, I'm not going to get frustrated, just let it go, and if you have to, walk away for a little bit and then come back and then refresh your mind. But you're not always going to get it right away. That's why we need to practice, practice, practice. Step number 12 is warm up before practicing live or recording a video. There have been several times where I come in on Sunday morning at my church and I haven't practiced a single song at all. I just listened to them briefly. They're songs that we've done before, but I listened to them briefly and it was sloppy. It was bad and it was not good. But there are times where I warm up even earlier or even in the middle of the week and just listen to the songs and then playing. I actually have better control, better accuracy, better tone, and just a better feeling overall, thinking I got this and I know how to play this better than what I would have if I just woke up. And that's the same with recording video. If you're recording something or even recording in a studio, make sure you practice beforehand, warm up, do some scales, make sure your fingers are loose and exercised and awake, because you want them to be fluid, you don't want them to be rigid. Number 13, if you compare yourself to others, you will get disappointed. There have been several times in the 12 years that I have been playing guitar that I've compared myself to either friends, YouTubers, or other musicians. Like, they can play sweep picking very well. I can't. I'm still learning how to do that. Whereas they can finger tap a lot and I can't, and it gets frustrating at times, but then that pushes me to drive, say, hey, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to become better. And like I said, just comparing yourself makes you feel like, oh, I can't do this, and it's going to make you discouraged. It's going to make you put down the guitar, and you're not going to want to play. What I recommend doing is, while still looking up to that, be like, hey, I want to be able to do this. Think, all right, this is what I can do. Let me practice that and let me get that down, but then let me practice that arch. That way I can get used to it and I can actually learn it. Tip number 14, if you don't have good rhythm, then it all sounds bad. Like I said before, the most important aspect about playing any music at all is rhythm. You can be the most technically advanced player in the world, but if you're a beat off, it will not sound good. If you're playing something that in 6/8 when it's supposed to be 4/4, it's not going to sound too good. There are exceptions to this. I will admit that there are exceptions, and sometimes it does sound good, especially with a progressive movement. But typically, you want to focus on your rhythm playing, because lead playing will come. You just want to make sure you have a good rhythm, because a lot of the great lead players, especially from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and whatnot, have great rhythm, and I looked up to them. Tip number 15, and this is the last tip, is while knowing how to read music is good, and I highly recommend everyone to be able to read, it's not the most important thing. I believe that knowing your music theory is more important. Now, I went to college, I was trained how to read music and with music theory. And I will tell you this, that most of the time when I'm playing, especially at church, I'm playing lead guitar using chord charts. So it's going to have like the lead sheet on it, it's going to have all that, but it doesn't necessarily have all the notes. Sometimes it does, and I have to use that reading to be able to learn it. But for the most part, if I'm playing something in C and I want to play the progressive over A minor, I need to know my music theory. I need to know, hey, what sounds good and what doesn't, and what can I do to implement that. So learn your theory. I think that's more important than actually learning how to read music. Obviously, learn how to do both, but if you can't only do one, just do music theory. So those are my 15 tips and tricks when playing guitar that'll help you as a guitar player. Now, these are stuff that I've learned in the past 12 years of playing. And if you have any tips and tricks that you'd like to be featured, or even just let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to talk to you and get more opinions and more facts, so that way it can help me as a guitar player, but also help the others watching this video. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications on posts that I do. Please share this video with your friends, and until next time, keep rocking.